Then I went again.
Well, he said the spiritual dimension.
How precious and how
I'm important in the world.
you have a family.
Everyone else was astonishment.
In 1973, Mr. David Stauber accompanied his wife and father-in-law to an audience with the Rebbe.
I had a very, very skeptical and aggressive attitude towards Judaism. I was non-practicing except for keeping Yom Kippur, and my wife kept a kosher house, but it was her desire, not my own. Before, when we were waiting there, they came up to me and said, they told me I should write out a note for the Rebbe, some requests, and I told them I have no requests and I have nothing I want from the Rebbe. I was just here to facilitate my wife and helping her in, and other than that, I was just a bystander. I'd be sitting in the back, so there was no need for me to write anything. They were very, very insistent that I couldn't go in unless I wrote something. So, with that ultimatum, I just said, if God's so great, why does he insist on all these tiny details? Why can't he let them skip? And that's all. That's the only question I had. And just because he told me I had to write something. And it always did bother me that if God was so great, why was he stuck with all these tiny details? And it seemed to upset him if we missed one. And if you used a meat spoon and cottage cheese, you have to go bury it and pull your hair out and everything. So I could never get that. It really was beyond me. So that's basically what I was asking the Rebbe, is what all the angst was about. So he began by asking each one of us our names, and I told him my name was Avram David. He asked our mother's name too, Ben Malka, and my ex said Yochevet Chana Baspina, and my father-in-law said Moshe Ben Chana. And the Rebbe just stopped and he began tapping with his pencil. We all just looked, and the Rebbe addressed my father and says, your son-in-law has two names and your daughter has two names. My father-in-law thought, he said, oh, my mother's name is Hannah Hendel. The Rebbe just nodded and wrote that down too. And then he turned to me and he said, I don't understand your question. So I thought it was pretty forthright. So I started to say it in Yiddish, thinking maybe he had difficulty with English. And he stopped me, put his hand up, and he said, it's not for God, it's for us. And I could see, I'm little breast, God wants us close to him, and this is the path he gives us. Suddenly it seemed very, very clear to me what the Rebbe was saying, that God wants us just because he wants the closeness of a relationship. It's like he gave a path, and he said, if you follow this path, you'll find me. And it's not that if you don't follow this path, I'm going to blind you or I'll hurt you. Just the opposite. I want you to come close. And here I'm giving you a path, a means in which you can find this proximity, this closeness with me. It was a very radical thought to me. I had never ever seen Judaism in that light. It was always focused on what was forbidden and the consequences of doing what's forbidden. It was in yeshiva, I was away, everything was taught with the slap and with the hit, and you're no good, and Ozvorf. And so I had more than my fill of Judaism, but this really intrigued me. I was very taken. I felt as though I was in a dark room and someone had opened up a light.